All right. Podcast number 2, Ron Nussbaum, United States Marine, retired, and local to Carteret County, which I'm super excited about having you on the podcast. You should have been first, by the way, not Bob. You should have been first. But I'm excited to have you on today, man. There's lots to talk about. You and I developed a friendship not long ago, and I feel like I've known you forever. And certainly fortunate to have you not only in our community, but in Life 100. And so I'm looking forward to the future, man. You and I have got some big dreams. We've got some really cool stuff ahead of us. But today, the listeners want to know all about you. And so, man, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being on.
Hey, it is great to be here. Thank you for having
Absolutely.
me. I didn't think this was going to be episode number 2. I thought you'd recorded a couple in between.
I knew you were going to call me out on that. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. So this is episode number 2, but maybe there's some other ones in the can. We'll see how it works out. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I feel like we're calling out people here. You never know, right? With us, we tend to do that.
Yeah, I just think getting the bugs worked out.
That's right. There's plenty of bugs, man, but we're gonna figure it out and keep on going.
So I'm episode number 2. I want to lay dibs on like episode 100.
Okay. Done.
At that point in time,
Done.
You're going to get there. I mean,
Yes.
I might do some in between there, but I'd like to throw dibs out on that. That's,
All right.
Life
Fair enough.
100, episode 100.
I feel like that's going to be an epic one. So
Yeah, so do I. That's why I want
All
to
right.
make sure I'm at
Deal.
least involved. Maybe we
Deal.
get some other people. It could be like a round table.
Yeah, maybe we take sponsorship opportunities, or like we'll take money. We can be bought for episode number 100, but no, for sure, man. We'll definitely have to put that on the list. And I think that would be something really cool to look back on. So, man, let's start. My grandfather was a United States Marine, and I'm very proud of that. And so I think that's really cool. That's obviously what brought you to this area. There's lots to talk about. Your business is something that's really exciting, and I think it's really cool. And I want you to tell the listeners about it. But let's start with your military background, man. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think if you really want to start to get to the essence of Ron Nussbaum and what does that look like, is you got to go back to just before I became a Marine. It was something that if you ask my mom, she would say that when I was like 6 years old, this Marine came into our church in his dress blues. I had to have a picture with him. She would say that was the day that I decided that I was going to be a Marine. I didn't go in until later. I was, about 23 when I actually pulled the trigger. Was like, this is something that I have to do. I have to know if I have it, if I have what it takes to go be a Marine. And where it gets interesting is I had a tattoo on the side of my neck. I actually spent just about a year getting it removed because the Marine Corps wouldn't take me.
Wow.
Without having that tattoo gone. And, the Army would have paid me a nice signing bonus to go be in the infantry in the Army, but I didn't want that. That wasn't, I wanted to be a Marine. So I made the decision, like, I'm going to go do this.
That's awesome.
Blew everybody's mind at the recruiting station. The sergeant major there he couldn't even believe it that I would go through that. But when you really want something and you feel like if you don't do it, you're going to look back the rest of your life wondering if you could do it. And I can't do that. I couldn't do that. So.
That makes sense. So the sign-in bonus was the lowest out of all the branches?
0.
Oh, it was 0.
Yeah. It actually cost me money because I had to pay to get the tattoo removed.
Wow, that's a really cool. That's interesting. Well, you must have seen something different in the Marine Corps. You must have seen maybe a different structure, a different drive. Something must have attracted you to the Marine Corps.
I think it's the elite.
Got it.
It's that. And on top of that, it's like they just want to take me. Like I had to make a sacrifice to get there.
Wow.
And to me, like that meant something. It wasn't like everybody could go do it. Not only like the military is a small number of people to begin with. The Marine Corps is an even smaller number. That I was in the infantry in the Marine Corps. It's stuff that like you feel like it's what you want to do, and there's a lot of sacrifice that comes to get to that point, to be around, and then you're around the same kind of people.
Yeah.
No bashing any of all the branches or whatever, but we all know the Marine Corps is the best. And there's a reason why. You can go show up in the Army and be there with people that might not necessarily want to be there.
Right.
But you go walk around the Marine Corps infantry base or barracks, like those are guys that want to be there because you're signing up to be in the shit. Like it's known. So that to me meant something. You were part of something special that not everybody could be part of or were willing to be part of.
That's awesome, man. Like I said, the Marine Corps, there's a lot of heritage in my family with the Marine Corps. My grandfather, especially, was a sergeant major, and now my son-in-law is a retired Marine as well. And so I've got a lot of respect for the Marine Corps. And of course, being in our area, you know, Camp Lejeune is right up the street, and there's a lot of in Cherry Point, so there's a lot of Marine, you know, folks around here. You know, there's a lot of Marines around here, and so definitely plays a big part in our community. And you know, first and foremost, thank you for your service. And I know that helps you to become who you've become. You know, that structure and that discipline. What do you think is the number one thing you took from the Marine Corps? Like, I know there's probably lots, but what do you think would be the number one takeaway from the Marine Corps?
A lot of bad decisions, a lot of great times, and my wife, my beautiful wife Stephanie, was probably the best thing that came out of the Marine Corps.
That's good. That's good that you ended on that, considering she's in the room. It's a good thing that you brought that up. So we'll count that as a win. You definitely don't want to leave Steph out of it. Yeah, you did good job, man. We both have to keep up with that, so that's good. Cool. So, you know, Marine Corps, you were in Camp Lejeune in the Jacksonville area. You moved away. You know, you moved to Michigan, I believe it was. And so you spent some time in Michigan. Tell us a little bit about what you did in Michigan after getting out of the Marine Corps.
Yeah, so that's where Steph was from, was Michigan. I had no plans on going back to Ohio, let alone going farther north, but that's where I ended up.
Nobody ever retires and moves up north, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
There's a reason. There's a reason.
Yeah. So, but that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
And I ended up somewhere where I didn't know anybody, a complete transition. Like it wasn't what my game plan was. I ended up blowing my knee out after we got back from Iraq during our Afghanistan workup. And my plan was to be a Marine. Like I had spent this time to become a Marine. I related with everything about it. And then like that was gone. That wasn't even an option anymore. The Marine Corps was they just were done with me. And you know, that can be a bittersweet thing. So then I end up in Michigan and I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do? Like, what does this look like now?
Culture shock.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember I was talking to Steph when we were just dating to begin with and telling her, like, this is going to be my life. Like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to deploy. I'm going to do this stuff. I love it. I love the guys I'm around. And, you know, asking her if that's the life that she wanted before we even got married.
Wow.
Because that's what my plan was. And, you know, God has different plans, and it's not always up to us. And that wasn't what I was meant to do. I was meant to check that box and then go do other things with my life. And that ended me up in Michigan. I ended up going back, working. I was in automotive reconditioning prior, and I fell back into that. And I was just lost, I guess would be one of the best ways to put it. Like, I was really trying to figure out, like, what's the next stage of my life look like? And there was this foreman in training ad on Craigslist, and I went and applied to it. It took me a couple weeks because
Before you decided?
I had no construction experience. So I would read it and be like, that's not for me. And then finally one day I was looking in the mirror and I was just like, damn it, Ron. Like, if you want to go be a Marine, if you want to go work in construction, like, you can. Like, you were a United States Marine. You can go be a foreman if you want. And I applied for the job, and that landed me in residential construction. And I really found a home there. I found the transition out of the military into an environment like construction is, I say there's no greater way to do it, because a lot of the same stuff that you find in the military, you can find in the construction world as well. And there's a trajectory.
Yeah.
that you can climb if you want, if you're willing. And I went from running the jackhammer to running a crew to running a few crews to running operations to running the company. And
That's awesome.
I've done everything in a residential construction company, like literally from sitting at the table making sales to laying the concrete.
That's awesome. I know there's a story there to tell about how you arrived at this business idea. Before we get to that though, one thing you said kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit. I hear this a lot. People say I was just kind of lost. I wasn't really sure what direction to go, right? And I think everybody comes to that point at some point in their life, you know, whether they're in a career that they know they want to stay in, but maybe they're not sure which exact path to take, or maybe they're in the wrong field all to begin with, whatever it is, they kind of come to that moment where, what am I supposed to be doing? So do you remember, you know, you mentioned like I was in, I think you said automotive reconditioning or whatever it was, and you said I just was lost. So what was it about that stage in your life that you were lost? Was it like, I need to make more money, or I want to make more money? Was it just, this doesn't fulfill me, the things that I'm doing on a daily basis? Like, what brought you to that point?
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's always about money. Like
Right.
if we're not trying to create more money, then we're doing something wrong. And anybody, we can say all kinds of different things about that, but I think that's the truth. You know what it was I had lost what I felt like was my calling.
Because of the Marine Corps?
Yeah, like I thought like I was called to be a Marine. I felt that deep down in my heart, and I had lost that. That wasn't even an option. So I was trying to figure out like what does this look like?
I can
How,
understand that, because the
how
structure of the Marine Corps, and then you've lost that structure in the real world, right? I say the real world, not the Marine Corps, it's not the real world, but in the civilian world, things are a little bit different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I say I have, and I think most people can relate to this or should. And if you don't relate to it, I think you should probably think about it. Is we spend most of our life running from discipline, but what we really need is that discipline. Well, like that's what the military provides. I have always been my absolute best when I'm in a high disciplined environment. And we can create that environment outside of the military, but it's not natural.
Yeah, it's true.
Most people just run from it, and then that's why we're lost because we have no structure in our life, and it just creates this feeling of just being lost. When all we really need is that discipline and a game plan to start getting where we want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting. Everybody says, or a lot of people say, they don't want discipline, they want freedom, but they don't realize that discipline creates the freedom, right? It's kind of interesting how that works. So there's a missing component. You find yourself, you know, structured for so much time. The military tells you exactly what you're doing day in and day out. Your life is pretty much scheduled for you. You get out of that world. You're in the civilian world. You're in Michigan. You're doing, you know, this auto work, and you just don't have a sense of completion. You knew there was more. You knew you wanted to do more. You missed the Marine Corps, so you applied for this job. You got this job. You worked your way up. Did all these parts of the company, but then again, there was this hole that you found.
Yeah.
But the hole wasn't in you. The hole just happened to be in processes and a need that you found within the company. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So there was one thing I could always like guarantee is I would deal with upset customers. And there was this one day where I'm standing in a driveway just getting my ass chewed with 6 of my guys around, and I have nothing to do with any of the reason why. I'm the person that the customer is just unloading on. And it really made me dive into like why does not just me, but why does the construction industry have this customer experience problem so wrong that you can be barely good at it and be considered the best around?
Wow.
And what it led me down the road to was, it's very rarely ever the guys, it's barely rarely the work, it's all communication.
Mm.
So one night I was laying in bed, it hit me is if I just had software that got everybody on the right page or on the same page, worked as air traffic control, made sure the customer was always talking to the right person, vice versa, it would fill a gap in the industry. And I ended up bringing that product to market. It's now Buildercoms today. And if Slack and Dropbox hooked up and had a baby for the construction industry, that's what Buildercoms is.
Got it. That makes sense. That's a good analogy. I think that's that sounds like that Shark Tank worthy. I like that analogy. If Slack and Dropbox had a baby. So, again, there's a lot to unbox in this. So like every great entrepreneur, what sells is when you find or when you create a solution to a problem. So you found a problem in the construction industry, communication being the big problem. So tell us a little bit about Buildercoms and what it actually does. So if let's just say I'm a client and you're the contractor, where does Buildercoms fill the gap?
I think before we jump into that,
Okay.
we gotta cover some basics.
All right, let's cover some basics.
Like, how do we end up here doing this?
Well,
now?
I was gonna do that. I meant to do that before.
Because that's a whole story.
It is. Well, let's talk. Let's before we do that, tell us how it bridges the gap, and then we'll get into that. I think that way we don't lose people, because I want to make sure they understand what Buildercoms is about. You don't have to do a big pitch, but just tell us what kind of gap that it fills.
It fills the communication gap.
Okay.
Because we have too much stuff going on. If you think about it, is we have all these emails, these text messages, the WhatsApp, the Slack. We've really bogged communication down. And what we do is we just get it in one place, organize it per project, and then help the right people talk to the right people.
So it's like a landing page for everything.
Yeah, I'm a simple guy. I created
That's
a
awesome.
simple solution. I learned to say no to my developer really early on. And so we do communication really well. And then we do document management good, and we do photo storage and sharing good.
That's awesome. So it's a one-stop shop for construction management, or actually really construction communication with the client.
We're a communication platform at heart, but what we found out is going to market and working with our customers is what we really are is we're like this data center for all this stuff that's really hard to control in construction, because you have all these paper documents laying around, you have all these email threads, all these text messages, and then these pictures that are just everywhere, just sitting around. And by building this simple solution that organizes everything by project,
Makes it
we've
easy.
created just this data center to start getting all of this stuff in one place. That's typically, you're going to spend an hour trying to find this information.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. So before we get into how we met, you're in Michigan. You have this idea that comes up. You start some kind of development process, I'm sure, but somehow you got to North Carolina. So I think that's a great intro to where we met. But how did you leave Michigan and get to North Carolina?
Yeah, so the real story of where all this starts to really take shape is I apply to be in the 10X incubator with Grant Cardone down in Miami. And this goes back when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2011. I read the 10X role.
Okay.
And I looked at stuff and I said, I'm going to do a deal with that guy one day.
Wow.
Like, that is, we're on the same page. This all, it just clicks too well. Would I ever have thought that it would be a software deal? Absolutely not. So I have this idea for Buildercoms.
Right.
And I'm trying to get developers and stuff. And this is 2020. Developers are ripe with people that want to spend money. I would go into these places, I would pay to have conversations, to get consulting, to be told you're the wrong guy. Oh, you're just this construction guy. You need to be and I'm like, well, that's why I'm here getting you. Like, you're the software person. I know the real word of knowledge here. Like, this is why. And I just couldn't get any traction. Applied to 10X Incubator, 20-some thousand companies apply. I'm one of 100 that get accepted. I'm one of only a handful that have actually brought a product to market through there.
That's awesome.
And in the process of that, making that deal, me and Steph owned a cleaning company. that we had bought and then flipped and sold. I had a falling out would be a good way to put it with the company that I was working with.
Okay.
I think we have to be honest about how all this stuff plays out. And when you're building something and it's not yours, there is really no expectation. That's how we should feel about it, but like that's not how that stuff ever plays out.
Yeah.
And I pretty much, I was told it's either you're going to go do this or you're going to work for us. And I didn't really care much for that. And I chose to go do this and build something for my family instead of just giving it all up. I mean, you get all this traction just for it to be kind of looked at as being something that could be thrown away because there was more work for me to do. And, I made great money and I turned down a lot of money to just walk away and say, no, it's more important for me to go build something for me and my fam for
a legacy.
I would have never been happy. It's just like coming back to the Marine Corps thing. I have to know, like, do I have what it takes to bring this to market, to do this? Like,
I love it.
I would have spent, if I would have stayed in Michigan, I would have always thought in the back of my mind, like, I just got into the 10X incubator. I did all of this stuff. I met my partner, Jared Yellen, and like, I would have just gave that up. Like, what would that have been for the rest of my life?
I like the statement. I had to know. Do I have what it takes? I have to know. I love that. So
I didn't have to go to brick and mortar anymore.
Yeah.
Which led me and stuff to having conversation. Like, what does it look like? Cash, our son was, a year out from starting school. So it was like, if we stay here and he starts school, we're pretty much here. But like right now, we can make some decisions. And we were originally going to go to Florida. Me and Steph actually spent a couple weeks down in Florida looking at houses. But we kept finding ourselves talking about North Carolina here because we were here. When I was in the Marine Corps, we lived here. We would come to where we live.
Yeah.
Now,
So you knew what was here. You knew the area.
And one night we were in the pool and Steph said it's not Florida, it's North Carolina. And we went home, sold everything, got an Airbnb in North Carolina, and moved down here. Just drove down here. Like, that was it.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, you can't tell any more about that yet because we got to tell how we met. But one thing I remember in our conversations was you made this move, and I remember, and I think about it all the time. But you live your life instead of looking at like, how am I going to make it the next year? How am I going to make it the next 2 years? You look at it in shorter periods of time. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I believe in 90-day cycles.
Okay.
Like, that's especially when you're starting a business. Like, it's very Survivor-esque, and you can't, like, if you're looking down the road, everything changes a lot. That's why I just look at stuff 90 days. Like, I can control 90 days. If I can survive the next 90 days, I can survive the next 90 days after that.
I like it. Small pieces, that's good. I mean, there's a lot like that. Rob Bailey, good friend of mine. Rob lives with a lot of that mentality. Ed Milet talks about his dad, and I don't know if I can be sober forever, but I can give it at least one more day. I can, everything was one more. I think that's pretty awesome, man. It says a lot about the risk that you were willing to take, your family supporting you, Steph supporting you. But, breaking it into small pieces where it's manageable. You don't get quite as consumed when you look at it in short periods of time versus looking at it a year.
Well, I think it's a known fact that we way underestimate what we can do in a short period of time and way overestimate.
Yeah.
I just think you have to take action and do stuff, and stuff changes so much.
Yeah.
Like, in the world we're in today, like, stuff is constantly changing. Like, can you really predict 90 days down the road, like, what stuff's going to be like?
It's tough. It really is.
I mean, the market's constantly changing. Products change. Competition changes. We change as people. So it's really hard. Like we can have long-term goals. Like I understand what I'm chasing long term, but it's more about what the next 90 days brings. So then you can adjust, you can pivot, you can say, hey, this is working. And it even gets down to weeks at a time.
Yeah, it does. I think there's a lot to be said for that. So you guys, you pull the trigger, you leave Michigan, sell everything, come to North Carolina. You've got this 90-day mentality. You're trying to start this business, going through the struggles that most entrepreneurs, if not every entrepreneur, goes through. Big sacrifices on everybody's part. But lo and behold, things begin to start changing, right? So fast forward a little bit to where we met. So I'm up in New Jersey doing a podcast and an event for Ryan Robbins. And I'm there at his house that night before the podcast, and we're sitting around talking, and they're asking me where I'm from. And I said, yeah, the coast of North Carolina. And he goes, yeah, there's a guy coming from somewhere in North Carolina, some coast town. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, like Emerald something. And I'm like, Emerald Isle? He goes, yeah, that's it. I was like, bullshit. That's not, that is not the case. That's the same county I live in. There's no way that a guy from Emerald Isle, from the same county I live in, is going to be at this event and be here at your house tonight in New Jersey, where I just happen to be here speaking on your podcast. There's no way. And he goes like, yeah, he's going to be here in a few minutes. So a few minutes later, here comes Ron Nussbaum. And so I almost was waiting for you to tell me you were from somewhere else other than Emerald Isle, because I thought maybe Ron wasn't telling us the truth, or maybe you just got it mixed up, whatever. But lo and behold, you live in Emerald Isle. We both live in the same county, never met each other, never heard of each other, didn't follow each other on social media. But I think it's fair to say, like, even in the hustle and bustle of that night in New Jersey, we realized we had a connection. We have the same drive. We have a lot of ambition in what we want to do in life, and we share a passion for helping others. And so definitely sparked a friendship that night. I think it was a week later we connected. You came over to the shop, and geez, man, I think you've been here just about every single week. Our families have become friends, but we've had the joy of being able to help other people. But how crazy is it that we met in New Jersey, you drove there. I happened to fly. Luckily, you could have flown with me, right? If we'd have just met earlier. But how crazy is it that two guys from Carteret County, where there's not a lot of drive, right? There's not a lot of people that have the same type of drive that we have. They're just hitting. And we end up at the same place in New Jersey. How crazy is that?
The universe is never wrong.
That's right. That's right.
And that was a last minute decision for me. Like I think I decided to do that like a week and a half before that event.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't necessarily is something I had thought about, but like something told me I needed to go. And like I said, the universe is never wrong.
That's awesome,
it's
man.
up to us to take the action and create the outcome that's supposed to, like, the universe isn't going to hand it to you, but it'll put you in the right spots. Yeah. We just have to figure it out. And for me, I guess figuring it out was I drove to Jersey and went to the event, and then we met, and that was the start of something that is going to be something very significant.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's awesome. So, here we are, we meet and we connect a week later, whatever it was. Told you a little bit about what I was doing and building this group and this community, Life 100. Kind of share with you a little bit about my passion, and you've been a major part of that. You've held me accountable. You've called me out at times, and been a great help to me in the community. I definitely couldn't do it without you. But again, how crazy is it that we met, divine intervention, if you will, and then all of a sudden we share the same passion. So now we're working together to grow this group and to see other people succeed while we're building our own businesses as well. Tell us on your thoughts and your input with Life 100 and what that means to you, and just the I guess the big picture of the fact that we met to be able to help each other, and then here we are.
Yeah, I think you very rarely in your life get the opportunity to be part of the foundation of something that is going to have a huge impact. And that excites me. That to be able to be at the foundation and be part of the creation of that. I look at myself as I'm just a natural catalyst. Like that's where I'm in my sweet spot is when I can be part of the reason why stuff happens
Yeah.
and create that momentum or create that explosion that creates something amazing. Like I don't have to be the person at the forefront of stuff. I kind of have to with Buildercoms because that's
Right.
my company, but like in my mind, I'm like that guy that's cruising along. I'm that just stealthy operator that can just create momentum. And I feel like that's what I have the opportunity to be involved with you at Life 100 and be that just help be the catalyst
Yeah.
for everybody in the group and you and just continue to just grow.
Yeah.
I think it's all about being around the right people and the right people. I think people look at it kind of differently. Like it's people think like I have to be around this certain kind of people. I have to be like in this room or that room or whatever I can buy my way into. And I think if you need to be in a room, you'll get in that room. And if you got to buy your way in there, buy your way in that room.
Yeah. Create the
But
opportunity.
yeah, but also for me, like I said, it's about being in a room where I can be a catalyst because that's where I really I feel that purpose. I feel the most free and at home when I'm doing that, and I have time to think about that kind of stuff. And it's not necessarily about myself; it's about those around me, and sometimes that can be self sabotaging because you can get too focused on that kind of stuff. But I've started to learn to balance some of that because I know what I'm doing is experiences that I have to be able to fully be the catalyst. Like I have to build Buildercoms. I have to get it to where we want it to go, exit this company to be able to truly embrace the catalyst that Ron Nussbaum can be.
That's awesome. Create the opportunity. It's all about opportunity. You know, for me, I've told my story a lot, and I've said this before. I know throughout my life I've followed my calling, right? And so I think sometimes your calling is seasonal. There might be seasons in your life where you're called to do something different. I've never been so certain about my calling where I am today in life. Never. And I absolutely, you know, we've talked about it, you know, in depth, but I'm all in on Life 100. Like this is what I was called to do. And it's crazy because the coaching space has gotten so strange lately. You know, the coaching space, there's a lot of people out there that are in it for the wrong reasons. And there's a lot of groups out there that, are just different, you know, and I don't hold that against anybody. I'll tell any of my clients, I'll tell any of my friends, I'll help you find the right group for you. My group may not be the right for you, or I might not be the right coach for you. I'll help you find the right person. But I know for me, the difference with me is it's not about the money anymore in life, right? It's about helping people. And I know that's a big part of my drive. I know that's a big part of the drive that we both share. I think opportunity creates even more opportunity to be able to share and to be able to help other people. You know, financially, that definitely provides some catalyst, like you mentioned. Life 100, at its conception, was inspire, inform, increase. That's kind of our motto. That's kind of what we do. I think it's definitely we're in the infancy of what we're capable of. I think there's so much more ahead, and I think there's so many more doors that are going to be open. You know, being at Limitless this weekend and looking on that stage and looking around and seeing thousands of people, you know, I'm not going to lie. All I could think about was I'm ready to be on that stage myself, and I know I will be. You know, I've spoken to hundreds of people, I've spoken to thousands of people, but I'm ready to share my message with 10,000s of people, and I'm ready to see that one life that's in that group or in that group of people changed. You know, I think that's what it's all about. so it's exciting to be a part of that. You know, it really is. And I think the fulfillment, and you and I have talked about this, the fulfillment is, you know, people talk about buying cars and watches and this and that and the other, planes and boats and whatever, but there's nothing that replaces helping somebody else and the feeling that you get, because the feeling of buying something physical goes away so quick, right?
Yeah, but I want to show up to help somebody in the Lambo with $100,000 watch. Like, you know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
let's not get it. Whatever. Like there has to be. You have to have something like there's. I'm not afraid to talk about that stuff because I think a monetary drive is a good drive to have. I think that's why we all start out doing stuff. And like I said, I love being a catalyst for people, but
you want some nice stuff too.
I want to be the catalyst that people also look at and like that's yeah.
So you want to pull up here in the Lamborghini, not your F-150.
Yeah, you know, we sold a lot of stuff. We made a lot to do what we're doing now.
You went all in.
Yeah, we went all in. So, like, we got rid of Steph's Denali and got this F-150 because it made more sense to be all in on what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
Steph wants a Lamborghini too, I'm sure.
I don't know if she wants a Lamborghini. Probably more an Escalade. She really liked the Denali. I like caddies. I always say I've been slamming Cadillac doors since I was knee high. That's what my parents drove. But I think like that's what you make the sacrifices to get to where you want to go, and then you get to have it all. Because once you get over that herder, it just frees you up to go help as many people as you. I can't help as many people as I would like to right now, because I have other stuff I have to do. I have other focuses. I can't just drop everything to go make it happen. But eventually I will. Like that'll just be part of what I do. Like,
and I think it's the seasons. You know, I think it's the seasons of life. I know for me, a lot of my career I was driven by things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't hate on people for being driven by, you know, material possessions. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, nothing at all. I mean, I like nice things, obviously, and so there's nothing at all wrong with that. But I think you go through those seasons of life, and I think success changes a lot of that. And I think, you know, for me, what I try to share with people is there's nothing wrong with being driven by those things and being, you know, motivated by those things. But I also warn people, because I always say, you know, I'm a great coach because I share about the mistakes I made. I will say that those things bring a temporary joy. Nothing wrong with that, but what brings lasting joy, really, you got to figure that out, right? And I know for me, lasting joy is helping people out. I love nice things.
Nice things are fun.
They are fun.
They're
a blast.
Like that,
they're a blast.
Like if you're chasing that kind of stuff for fulfillment, like you need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
I just think that shit's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Like
it has its place. Has its place.
That's just what it is. And then like there's other stuff that fulfills you. If a Lamborghini is what fulfills you, I think you need to reevaluate the situation. I'll tell you, the only way that I could justify a Lamborghini being fulfilling is I think about how amazing it would be to drop my son off at elementary school in a Lambo, because he would just love it. Like he saw one the other day when we were out and about. He's like, "Dad, that's a Lamborghini." Oh yeah, you know. And
that's
like
awesome.
I think like to me, all right, so I can get a Lamborghini, drop him off at school. I think that would be like.
That's awesome.
Probably more fun than driving it over here.
Oh yeah.
Or doing whatever in it. But
he'd be the most popular person in school in Carteret County anyway.
Yeah, so, probably.
My son got to ride in a Lamborghini a few weeks ago. He got a different view of the Lamborghini than what most kids probably do, though. I don't know if I think I told you that story, but
I think most people think this stuff's unattainable.
Yeah.
Like you can't even reach out and touch it. But I grew up in a different environment where that stuff, we were like, that was. We talked about dreams and aspirations and what do you want to have. But we're getting off the subject. That's Life 100. So, coaching industry. It's the industry that needs to be disrupted more than anything. Somebody needs to drop a bomb in it and just drop a bomb in it.
Yeah.
It needs to be changed. I believe.
I wonder if we have a bomb sound
lot.
effect. I feel like we need a bomb sound effect. Do we have? I don't see a bomb. We got an air horn though. Will that work?
I don't think that's enough.
No, we need more.
The
We gotta get more.
industry, it's so, the coaching and mentoring and consulting space is just such a cluster right now.
It is.
And it needs to be disrupted. And I love to disrupt stuff. I love what you're doing, and that's why I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Because I think at the core, this is small communities doing great things will be what changes the coaching industry. It won't be the mega figures or all the bullshit that's on Instagram and stuff it's not true.
Yeah.
It'll be groups where you can have relatable conversations with other people that have either been there or going through it or are going to go through it.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
That's what you're building. So
Yeah, I agree.
I
think it's, for me, when I looked at the coaching space, I saw what was out there, and I saw a lot of people that got into groups just to take. I talk about that with our group all the time. People get in, they post up about their businesses, they say whatever they need, and then you never see them give back. And so it's not a two-way transaction. It's not even a transaction. They just get in there and take. I know for me, it's important to me that our group is mutually beneficial, and I have no issues with kicking people out if they don't play nicely with everybody, because again, we're all there to grow, right? And so I think it's important in our group that it's mutually beneficial. People give as much as they take. And then the other thing is, I think the mega groups, you lose so much person to person, like one-on-one attention in those groups. And so we made the decision in our premier group, we made our decision to only have 100 members, which honestly, I've been ridiculed by a lot of my friends about that. They were like, you're taking off the cap of what you could scale this to and blah, blah, blah. But I am dead set that we are going to only have 100 people. There might be a waiting list. There might be, whatever after the fact that we put people on when we open up membership from time to time. But once those 100 spots are filled, that's it. I don't want any more.
I'm going to say something that is, so scale is the death of industries.
It is. I agree.
And we've watched it happen so much. And I took a construction company to over 8 figures. I'm not against scale. I think scaling to scale is the death of industries. And we watched it unfold in software here recently, where all this stuff just started going kapoop because there was just chasing scale. Like, we just want to scale. We want to scale. People don't even know what it means. Like, people don't even literally have a comprehension of what scale actually means anymore, because all they think is just growth. And now we'll watch that in the coaching space. The same concept of just, I have to scale this. Well, why? Like,
what's the reason?
Like, I know people that charge $5,000 a month and charge $250,000 a month to coach people.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah. It's different.
But then you have the mainstream is just about scale. How many people can we get in here? How, whatever. And you lose the actual impact. Like, the scale causes the death. Like, there's only so big groups and organizations can get without structure or without the appropriate, like, that's what's lost in coaching, because it's like we take all business principles, all of that, and we just throw them out the window and just, we can scale. Same thing that they did in tech, where it was like, none of this matters because we can just rapidly scale. We can bring in more customers. In this case, in the coaching and consulting space, it's more clients. Like, we can just bring them in. No rules, Wild West. And it's created this environment where I think it's just fake.
Yeah, it's definitely strange. It's definitely a strange space right now. It definitely is. And, like I said, you lose the you lose it being personable. You know, you lose a lot of the touch. It's just it's definitely a different space. I think, you know, everybody has their reasons for their groups. I just know for us, it's I want that accountability. I want that you know, community that helps each other, and I want to provide what most groups don't. You know, I want to kind of fill that void, so to speak. And I'm definitely not looking to be like everybody else's group, which is why I'm doing things a little bit different. And again, no fault against everybody. I think everybody should be a part of something like this. If you're in business, it's a great asset. I think, you know, it's great accountability. I think having a coach is important. I think, you know, I live by the belief that nobody ever became successful without help from someone else. And so I think it's a needed spot. I just think it's finding the right fit. And I think you and I talk about that all the time. You know, not every group is the right fit. Not every coach is the right fit. Which is why a lot of groups change their price points. They change the way people pay, because they're seeing, you know, the way people drop out. They're seeing all of that. So I think for us, it's just being authentic. You know, I charge month to month. If you don't want to be a part of it, then don't be a part of it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to hold you captive because you paid for, you know, 10 years worth of membership. At the end of the day, if you're not the right fit, you're not the right fit. I'm also not afraid to kick people out if they're not the right fit, because, you know, I protect it. I take it really seriously, and I take our membership really seriously. So our group, we've seen some really cool things in the last 6 months. We've seen a member go from living in the shop to potentially seven figures this year, which is pretty amazing. We've seen a lot of folks change. We've seen a lot of improvements in our group. I think it's just the start, man. I think there's a lot more to go. I think we've got some people that are going to be joining soon that are going to be, you know, the next big hit. I think there's a lot going on. I think you're one of them, man. I think when Buildercoms hits, it's going to be massive.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
We're the traction we're picking up right now and what we're doing, like it'll be the catalyst to the biggest thing I ever do in my entire life.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome, man. So speaking of Buildercoms, tell us where you're at right now. What's going on with Buildercoms right now?
We're nationwide. I got guys out there using it.
Okay.
I'm a full functioning software owner with a product to market. So
awesome.
Most people can never get over the hurdle of actually bringing something to market. I have. We just came off of Vegas. We were a top 20 startup for the International Builders Show. So the biggest builders show in the residential construction space. We were a top 20 startup for. They look at us as one of the companies that are going to their words, not mine.
Disrupt.
They feel that these 20 companies would disrupt how the construction industry does business.
That is awesome.
So we're on the verge of massive things. We got a lot of snowballs just continuing to roll up. It's an amazing time, and you know, I spent all this time bringing this product to market to get the traction that we're getting now. Like it's been a fight to get anybody that's ever brought anything to market that was nothing, build a product and introduced it, and then had to create the branding and everything around it. Where understand that is like, it's not easy. I don't care what they say on the internet. It doesn't matter who you are, who you're connected to, or what your background is. You can do it, and it will be hard. Like, I thought I had some kind of advantage because I came from the construction industry. Yeah, I do, in the fact that I know how to build software for the construction industry because I relate to that. But it's no advantage in the actual, like, bringing it to market and sound like it's probably, you could look at it as a disadvantage because I didn't understand that game to begin with like I understand it now. And you know, it's all about branding and getting brand recognition, and we're starting to get that.
That's awesome, man. So what are you where are you at in the stage of the company? I know you're looking for some investors. So tell us a little bit about where you are.
We're raising money right now. I'll be in Charlotte at Seed to South, pitching live there.
Awesome.
I bootstrapped this to get it to where it's at.
Okay.
And I naively, I was just going to continue bootstrapping it. And then I got in a room with some people that had raised some serious money and had built 10-figure businesses. And they looked at me and they're like,
What are you doing?
Dude, well, they're like, there's no glory in this story. Like, you're going to kill yourself bootstrapping this. And, you know, it'll all work out. But, like, wouldn't you rather pour some gasoline on this?
Yeah,
Like,
rocket fuel.
And, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So when you have, you know, two guys that raised 100 million plus and their companies are worth over $1 billion, there's only a handful of those. What is it? 1,500 billion-dollar companies in the word, and you're in a room with two guys that have billion-dollar companies, and they're like,
"This is what you need to do."
Crazy to not go raise money.
It's hard not to listen to people like that, right?
Yeah. So I made the decision, like, okay, let's go raise some money, but I'm going to be very strategic about it. Like, I'm not just going out to raise money. I run this like a business. I don't run it like a software company. Like, we should be profitable. I want to be paid. Like, this is stuff like in tech has not been the norm. So I'm going to be not the norm when it comes to raising money. I'm going to go find some strategic people that make sense. Like, what kind of multiples can we get? Like,
you need fellow disruptors, I think is what you're looking for. Got to have some disruptors.
I'm looking for people that want to go along for the ride.
Yeah,
like
that's awesome.
It's a unique ride to be on, and I don't just want somebody that's just going to write me a check and ride my ass. I'm looking for some people that are like, yeah, I want to be involved with what that guy's doing. Right.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. That's awesome. So where can people find out about Buildercoms?
Buildercoms.com.
Okay. It's much better than the original name, by the way.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on another one.
We can do a podcast on branding and pivoting and understanding. Like, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in the story. And but you know, they're sentences or chapters in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's all part of it.
But we're everywhere. From YouTube to Facebook to Instagram to TikTok, you can find Buildercoms and
everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the first person that does not know you, so it can't be a family member, but the first person that does not know you that finds out what the original name of Buildercoms was and drops it in the comments below, we'll send them a Life 100 shirt because I think there's a great story for that. So the first person that comments correctly, I'm gonna let Ron choose it, but we will send them a free Life 100 shirt. I think that'd be a good swag pack. So, but we got to be careful not to mention the name yet. So anyway, drop in the comments. So look Ron and his company up, Buildercoms, and look us up on Life 100. No doubt about it. We are going to disrupt the space, as Ron said, and we're excited about what's ahead for us. I'm starting to come up with a couple of things that I want to do on every podcast. One of them is closing comments. And here's the thing, that can get kind of cheesy at times, right? But I think it's a great insight into what's going on in people's minds. So believe it or not, I didn't ask Bob this. So episode 2, you're getting the first of my closing statement on every podcast moving forward. So what is your closing statement, closing remarks from Ron Nussbaum? What do you want to give our viewers? Tell me, give me some insight, some vision, some dreams. Give me something. Closing comments.
I believe that what has happened to you in your story should not be the why not. It should be the why.
I love it.
And that's where I'm at in my life.
Love
it's
it.
Like, everything is the reason why to do something.
I love it.
Instead of using it as a why not.
All right, there you go, guys. There you go. Use the why, not the why not, right? Everything that brought you to where you are made you who you are.
Yeah, and it's the reason why you should do something.
I love it, man. That's powerful. Well, man, episode number 2 is about to be in the can. We're going to get this thing launched on Friday. I'm super pumped about it. I'm going to put you on the note on the calendar for episode 100. I committed to do one of these every week, by the way, and videos every day. And so I got a lot of work ahead of me, but I believe we've got things that we need to share. I think we got some info that we need to share with the world. So make sure that you like this. Make sure that you subscribe to Life 100 and Rawlings Barnes. Make sure you follow us and stay tuned because these two guys from Carteret County are going to do some real big shit, I guess is the best way to finish it up, right? We're going to do some big shit. I know for a fact you've already driven Steph to your future headquarter office.
It changes though. Stuff changes all
All
the
right,
time.
all right.
I
Well, I
got
mean,
my
I'm
eye
just
on
jealous
stuff.
because I wanted to be a part of it,
Well,
man. I need like a wing in that building or something.
Here's the thing: is like 90 days at a time.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Possibilities get bigger. You start looking at like, why are we? Here's my question: is why are we looking at stuff that's for sale right now? Why are we not looking at what's the most ideal property? So I picked one out that I feel is pretty ideal.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know. On 24, there's 10 acres that Amy saw the other day on the water, and she said, that'd be a great place. And I got scared asking her. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. 10 acres on the water on down 24. She was like, this would be a great spot. We might need to go ahead and find our headquarters spot. Maybe we can have matching buildings. You can have your building on one side, and I got my building. Maybe we can split one in the middle.
I love island life, so I got my eyes on a building that's on the island that's not even for sale.
I like it.
But Amy needs to go drive by the 40 acres that's for sale in the water.
All right, let's not tell her that. Well, I'm gonna
not
edit
that
that.
bad.
I'm just messing. I'll edit that part out.
I think I only want like 2.5.
No, that's not bad at all.
40 acres on the intercoaster.
Or you could be like Ed Milet. Ed told us this weekend that he bought an island off New England.
Working on that.
Yep, in his own golf course, full size golf course just for him, which I think is really cool. Ed is a super inspiring guy. One of my favorite speakers in the world. He's by far my favorite speaker in the world.
I think if I was going to start playing golf again, I would like to have it's the people that get in the way when it comes to golf. It makes it not fun.
It is. We're going to have to go play golf one day. I'm not a golfer, but we might just have to go play.
I gave up golf when I started building Buildercoms.
Did you?
Well, no, I still have clubs. My son likes to golf.
I thought they were called bats.
So I used to golf like 3-4 nights a week.
Did you really?
It still sucked.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
But it was one of the things where I was like, this isn't moving me where I need to go.
Got to move on.
Yeah. I still got clubs.
All right,
I got some PXGs sitting in the garage. So
all right, fair enough. We'll have to go try it out. I don't know how well it'll go for me, but we'll go try it out anyway. So, well, man, I appreciate it as always. Thank you for taking the time to come over again. Subscribe, like this, and be on the watch. Be on the lookout for what these two guys in Carteret County are going to accomplish, because I can tell you right now, our dreams are much bigger than this county. They're much bigger than the state, and what we're going to accomplish is going to be nothing short of amazing. So make sure you keep an eye out for us. Again, man, thank you so much. And we'll see you. We'll see you before then, but we'll definitely see you on episode 100.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.